Abase. To humiliate, cause to feel shame, to hurt the pride of. Abash. To embarrass, to cause to be embarrassed. Abate. To make less active or intense, to become less in intensity. Abdicate. To give up power. Aberration. An aberrant state or condition, a disorder in a person's mental state, an optical phenomenon which results from the failure of a mirror or lens to produce a good image. Abet. To assist or encourage, often in the case of wrongdoing, to support, uphold, or maintain, to contribute to the commission of an offense. Abeyance. A temporary suspension or cessation, a temporary suppression. Abhor. To find repugnant or to shrink back with dislike or horror. Abjure. To reject something, to retract an oath, to recant. Aboriginal. An original inhabitant of any land, an animal or plant native to the region. Abortive. Failing to accomplish an original intent or goal, imperfectly formed or developed, something that is born prematurely, made from the skin of a stillborn animal. Abscond. To run away, often taking someone or something along, to hide, withdraw, or be concealed. Absolve. To release from moral wrongdoing, to grant remission of a sin. Abstain. To refrain from engaging in a certain act, to voluntarily refrain from, especially when having to do with an act involving the appetite or senses. Abstemious. Sparing in consumption of, especially in relation to food and drink, marked by moderation in indulgence. Abyss. A gulf or pit that is either bottomless or which possesses an unfathomable and inconceivable depth, infinite time. Abysmal. Boundless and vast, unfathomable. Exceed. To give into or yield to someone else's wishes or desires, to be in accordance with, to agree. Acclivity. An upward grade or slope on the earth. Accolade. To praise, a symbol that signifies distinction or approval, a ceremony that was formerly used to bestow knighthood. Accoutre. To provide with military equipment. Accretion. An increase brought about by natural growth, an increase in a beneficiary's awarded portion of an estate. Ascetic. Containing or relating to acetic acid, vinegary smell or taste, particularly in relation to wine. Acidulous. Tasting sour-like. Acme. The highest degree or level attainable, the highest point of something, mature age, the crisis or height of a disease. Acquiescent. Willing to carry out someone else's orders or wishes without any protest or dissent, submissive. Actuate. To trigger a reaction or to move and incite to action, to carry out or perform. Adapt. To modify or change to suit a new purpose or conditions, to conform one's own self to new conditions or a new environment. Addiction. A situation in which someone is dependent on something that is physiologically and or psychologically habit-forming, particularly in relation to alcohol or drugs. Adhere. To be in accordance with or compatible with, to carry out a plan without deviation, to come into close contact with, to be a devoted supporter or follower in a religious sense. Adipose. Composed of animal fat. Admonish. To counsel in relation to one's negative behavior, to warn against strongly, to take to task. Adulterate. Mixed with impurities, to corrupt or debase by adding a foreign substance. Adumbration. A rough summary of the main aspects of an argument or theory, providing vague indications of something in advance. Adversity. A state of affliction or misfortune, extreme challenge or hardship, a stroke of excessively bad fortune. Advert. To give heed to make a subversive or overt reference to advocate, a person who stands for and or pleads for a cause, idea, or person, a lawyer who pleads a case in a court of law, to push for or recommend something, to argue in favor of. Aerie. A lofty nest of a bird of prey, such as an eagle or hawk, a habitation of high altitude. Aesthetic. Relating to beauty or good taste, a specialty in philosophy that relates to what is beautiful and how humans respond to art and beauty in the world. Affable. Exemplifying warmth and friendliness, gracious and mild. Affected. Acted on or influenced, experiencing an emotional impact. Aggrandize. To add details to increase in power, to make something appear exceedingly great or exalted. Affiliation. Association in or with a professional or societal group, connection in terms of descent. Affinity. The force which attracts atoms and binds them together in the formation of a molecule, a close connection marked by shared interests or similarities, an intrinsic resemblance between persons and or things, a natural attraction to or feeling of kinship for, kinship by marriage or adoption. Affray. A noisy fight or quarrel, the act of disturbing someone, fear or fright. Agape. With the mouth wide open due to wonder or awe, a religious meal shared as a sign of fellowship, love, and respect. Aggregate. Gathered or having a tendency to gather in a mass or whole, the whole amount, to gather in a mass or whole. Aghast. Struck with fear, disgust, dismay and or horror. Agnostic. Uncertain of all claims relating to knowledge, a person who doubts the truth of religion and or does not hold a particular view or perspective on the existence or non-existence of God. Alacrity. Cheerful readiness, promptness, eagerness. Agrarian. Agricultural or relating to farms and agriculture, fields or lands, a person in favor of an equal division of property. Alchemy. A forerunner of chemistry, originating from the medieval era, the manner in which two individuals relate to each other. Alias. A temporarily assumed name other than one's real name. Allay. To lessen the intensity of, to calm, to quench, particularly in terms of thirst, allege, to report or accuse. Alleviate. To provide physical relief, particularly from pain, to make easier. Allocate. To distribute according to a particular plan, to set aside. Aloof. To be somewhat at a distance or apart from a crowd, detached or reserved in mannerisms. Altercation. A quarrel or argument. Amalgamation. The mixing or blending together of various elements, including races or societies, the result of such blending, the combination of two or more commercial companies. Ambiguous. Unclear, uncertain in nature, open to more than one interpretation. Ameliorate. To make something or someone better. amenable, willing to comply, responsible to a higher authority. Amnesia, a partial or total loss of memory. Amnesty, a period during which criminals are exempt from punishment, a warrant that grants release from a previously meted out punishment, the official act of liberating someone in a legal sense, to grant a pardon. Amortize, to gradually liquidate, to clear off or extinguish, particularly in relation to a debt. Amok, in a murderous tumult, wildly or without self-control. Amulet, a piece of jewelry thought to protect an individual against evil. Anachronism, something located during a time when it could not have actually existed or occurred, an artifact that belongs to a different time period, a person displaced in time. Analgesia, the absence of the sense of pain but with consciousness still intact. Analogy, an insinuation that if things agree in one respect, they agree in others, a comparison drawn to show similarities. Anarchy, a state of disorder and lawlessness resulting from a lack of or failure in government. Anesthetic, characterized by a lack of sensibility, a drug that temporarily causes loss of bodily sensations. Animus, a feeling of ill will that arouses hostility or animosity. Relieve. Annul, to declare void or invalid, particularly in the case of a marriage, law or contract, to eliminate the existence of. Antagonism, hostility that results in conflict, resistance or opposition, the condition of being an opposing force or factor in a situation or system. Antipathy, a strong feeling of hostility or dislike. Apex, the highest point of something, particularly in the case of a triangle, cone, or pyramid. Aplomb, poised self-confidence. Apocalyptic, relating to the apocalypse, involving or implying doom and ultimate devastation of a prophetic nature. Apostate, a person who has abandoned his or her political party, religion, or cause. Appease, to bring pacification or peace to someone who is upset or contentious, to satisfy or relieve. Appellation, a formal name or title, the act of naming. Apprehend, to arrest or take an individual into custody, to mentally grasp a concept or principle. Apprehensive, anxious or fearful about the future, capable of understanding concepts quickly. Aptitude, an aptitude for learning, a talent, quickness in understanding, intelligence. Archives, a collection of records particularly related to the history of records of an institution. Ardor, a feeling of strong eagerness or enthusiasm, an intense feeling of love, feelings of warmth and affection. Arraign, to command a prisoner or free person accused of a crime to appear in court to answer a charge. Errand, downright or utter, particularly unqualified. Artifact, man-made object. Artifice, a clever trick, skill or cunningness. Asceticism. The principles and practices of an ascetic, particularly in relation to extreme self-denial, self-restraint practiced in relation to a religious or spiritual doctrine or practice that claims the renunciation of worldly pleasures, allows one to achieve the higher spiritual state of being. Ascribe. To attribute to assign a quality or characteristic. Askance. To view with an oblique glance, to regard with suspicion. Askew. Turned or twisted toward one side. Aspiration. A desire or will to succeed, a cherished desire, an expulsion of breath during the active process of speech, the act of inhaling or drawing in air. Assail. To violently attack, to criticize, to cause trouble to. Assimilate. To learn, understand and incorporate information, to adjust or become adjusted to a different environment, to absorb. Assuage. To make something less intense or severe, to satisfy or appease, to pacify or calm. Astringent. Causing the contraction of body tissue, severe or harsh, and drug or lotion that draws pores together and or causes their contraction. Astute. Rapid to apprehend or understand. Atrocity. A behavior, event or incident that is characterized by cruelty and wickedness, an act of extreme cruelty. Attrition. A constant wearing down caused by friction, a gradual decrease in strength due to consistent stressful conditions, a gradual reduction in membership or personnel, repentance for a sin motivated by the fear of God and punishment. Augment. To make something larger in size or quantity. Augury.